Hi, I'm Alison Warner, founder of Evolve and Grow and author of Build and Grow. Welcome to the Evolve and Grow podcast show, where I share lots of useful tips and advice to tradespeople who are looking to move off the tools and grow a really successful business. Okay, so today I'm delighted to be joined by Wayne Bettess, who is founder of the Off the Tools podcast show and managing director of Your New Boiler, which is based in Luton, Bedfordshire. Wayne is a heating engineer from Luton, which is in the UK, and he's been in the industry for 18 years, over 10 of which have been running his own business. Wayne also runs a couple of online communities designed to support the plumbing and heating industry, and they're called Plum Chat and Off the Tools. Wayne is now off the tools, if you excuse the pun, and splits his time between running his business and supporting others in the industry. So Wayne, it's great to have you on the show. I know we met for the first time, I think it was during lockdown, wasn't it, when you kindly invited me onto your show?
Yeah. Well, Firstly, thank you for having me on the show.
Great to have you here.
And yeah, it was sometime last year that where our paths crossed, wasn't it?
That's right. So maybe we could start with, if you could just share with the listeners what took you into your career as a heating engineer. How did you start out doing that?
So I sort of fell into it. I as you probably hear a lot from this industry, I wasn't the best student at school. And there was a section of the school that the not so classroom focused children went to. That's the nice way of putting it. I was in the naughty section.
In that way.
Yeah, basically, it was the naughty section. There was about 10 or 12 kids, and it was our own little bit. There was a lovely lady. She was a teacher, and like she really helped my last year of school because I was starting to go off the rails a little bit. But she kept me focused and grounded. And one day I just went in as normal, and she put an application form on my desk and said, "I think you're gonna need to go into some sort of construction. Do you know? Why not plumbing? Here's the application form." So at that point, up till that point, never really considered plumbing. I didn't really know what I wanted. As most 15, 16-year-olds, you don't really know what you want to do. So I was just like, yeah, all right, whatever. I filled the form out, sent it off. And thankfully, obviously, once I told my mum and stepdad, they were like, oh, do you know, my stepdad, Pete, he went to the gym with a local heating engineer. So obviously tried to pull in a few favors, you know, and got me working. I started off just doing weekend work. So over the last year of school, I wasn't in school much. So I was out at work for the odd day here and there and working weekends with Steve, who I'm still in contact with now. Steve, you know, shout out to Steve Edwards. He turned me around from sort of a boy to a man. So I owe him a lot.
Right. Okay.
And yeah, and it sort of spiraled from there. So obviously I'm going to college. Finally, Steve got me in with the company that he worked for. So then it was a proper apprenticeship. So then I just sort of went down the journey of becoming a plumber, and then went and done my ACS and got gas qualified. And then never really looked back. Do you know, I've had other businesses in other sectors, but heating and plumbing has always been my primary business and primary income source.
Right. And why do you think that is?
Because I like it. You know, I'm a problem solver, and in this industry there is a lot of problems. So from a technical basis, you know, I enjoy the challenge of getting people's problems fixed, whether it's a new boiler, whether it's fixing it. I also enjoy sales, and again in this industry, you know, we're constantly selling. You know, so that was something that as I got a bit older, I sort of realized that, you know, I actually enjoy this. You know, I'm quite good. I was the kid at school that would go in with a pack of sweets and sell them individually. Do you know what I mean? I was always hustling, so to speak, to make a few quid and whatever. So when I realized that if I approached plumbing in that way, in a sales manner, I could actually be fairly successful. And then so I built my first business, and on the surface, it looked successful. You know, we were turning over a lot of money. We had vans all over the town. We had a shop and everything. But as is ever so common, I had never done any business training. I never didn't even know it was a thing. I just thought, well, if you're good at your job, you just sort of do it and away you go. And the short version of the story is that I messed it all up and I actually went bust. So I went into administration and lost both. So it was two businesses, a showroom and a plumbing and heating business. And yeah, it was a very, very tough time, but I'm so grateful for it because ever since then, it set me on the path that I'm on now, which is fantastic. So out of the adversity.
So that's interesting. Yeah, absolutely, which is often the case. I mean, it's very, very common with entrepreneurs, isn't it? They tend to have had some failures behind them and they're great. I'm sure they're very painful learning experiences, but they're learning experiences in the main. What did you do differently second time round?
So the first thing, in essence, after it happened, looking back, I was depressed 100%. I'd gained weight. I was miserable. I was horrible to everyone around me. Didn't want to get up in the morning. Once I'd sort of shook that off, it took me about a year to sort of really sort of detach from the problems that I had. The first thing I did was start to learn and sort of embrace the fact that I knew nothing. I knew nothing about business. I'd winged it. I had just sort of like rode a wave that come crashing down. And ever since that, I just fell in love with learning, implementing. Because there's no point learning something unless you use that information. So that was probably the biggest thing I did different. So I learned about Zero. I learned about systems. I learned about processes. I learned about managing people, managing myself as well. That was probably the biggest lesson, was that life isn't all rosy and it never is going to be rosy. So you've got to manage yourself to adapt to that. There's always ups and downs. But when you embrace them rather than hate them, it starts to get a bit easier, and you can start riding the ups and downs a little bit. And
okay, interesting. So yeah. Yes. And so the obvious question to me, given that we both do sort of similar things now, I think, is where did you go to? I don't know how long ago this was, Wayne, but where did you go to learn all of those things? Because I know you and I have spoken about the fact that there is quite a lack of training for those things in the industry.
Yeah, and that's what I quickly noticed. I started off reading books, like just books after book, podcasts, anything I could consume, day to day. That was the start. Then I started to look around and thinking that, what, I need more. I need something else. I need some sort of accountability. So I started looking at coaches and mentors, and there's loads out there. Some are fantastic, some aren't. But what I learned from the people that I worked with back then was good, but it wasn't specific. That it didn't take into account my industry and like the problems that we face. And unfortunately, I didn't know you back then. Someone like yourself would have been a perfect fit for me back then, because I was crying out for someone that could structure me, and my brain runs away with things, and I need to be focused. I need to like laser my energy, otherwise it just goes to waste. And that's what led me to start Off the Tools, because what I realized was that there was very few people that were in this space, in the coaching, supporting space for tradespeople. And I know how hard it was for me. And thankfully, I've got an amazing wife and an amazing family that rallied round me. But a lot of people don't have that support. And I just wanted to create a place that people, it started off was just really based on providing a safe space that people could ask questions about things, because if you're in the main sort of like communities online, it's all very laddish and very like bravado. And I just wanted to create somewhere that people felt comfortable. And then that led me into doing the podcast that I do. And then obviously has led on since to where I work sort of more involved with people's businesses. And it all stemmed from the lack of that being anywhere else. So I just built my own, if that makes sense. And from a selfish point of view, the work that I do helps me as well, because, you know, I'm forever learning, and all the discussions that I have help me as a boiler business, you know? So yeah, there is, it helps everybody. So it's a great thing.
Absolutely. I've said that for many years, that I think one of the best learning experiences is actually to mentor other people, because you learn so much yourself in the process. And so tell the listeners a little bit more about Off the Tools, and what sort of, do you cover certain topics on your podcast show, or how is that structured?
Structured being the great word there.
Yes.
I wanted the podcast, the podcast to not be structured. I just wanted natural conversations. So literally, you know, I just turn the mic on, and, you know, I'm one episode might be me sharing a story about something that has happened that week. Another episode, like you were a guest. We obviously spoke about business development and training and stuff. I've spoke to one guest. We ended up speaking more about politics, you know, than anything else. So it's sort of just a bit of everything, really. And I'm not a structured person by nature. If things are too structured, I start to push away. Do you know, I don't like feeling confined, and I like to feel a bit free. So for me, it was built for I know I would have loved to listen to that sort of thing. So that's what I tried to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's obviously working, because I know you've got thousands of followers. So
yeah, but people seem to engage in it.
Yeah, we've touched on it before, I know, in previous chats, Wayne, around the challenges that we both see in the industry. And I think one of the biggest ones is recruitment. How have you managed to recruit, and are there any tips that you could share?
Right, yeah. So recruitment is it seems to be a huge barrier for so many people. I've got a few things here that I'd like to share. That there's not a silver bullet. You know, there's no one straight way to do it. It's trial and error to a degree. You know, sometimes you have to kiss a few frogs to find the right person. But a great member of our community, Ray, posted in the group the other day, and the way he explained it was fantastic, because he explained it, and I'm trying not to butcher the way he explained it, because it encapsulated how I feel about it. And in essence, every single person in the UK right now are fishing from the same pool of people. Yeah, there's not this secret hideout of elite engineers somewhere that we can't get to, which then means if we can all fish from the same pool, why do some people manage to find an amazing team, you know, and build an amazing business, and others constantly say that they can't find these people? And what that basically means that you've got to turn it on yourself. In my opinion, this is my opinion, it might be a bit unpopular, but I think the biggest problem for recruiting is the owner of the business. So it could be that the package that they're offering isn't competitive. That's quite a simple sort of, like, could be as simple as that. It could be the way that company is presented, you know. So although your marketing and everything you do is designed to capture customers, it's also a sales board for other people to come and join you.
Absolutely right. Absolutely.
If you present yourself, you know, as back of the fag packet, write down the quote, you know, and it's all a little bit like not serious, you're not going to attract the decent engineers that want to progress their career and do things. And fundamentally, I would bet this is a random figure, but I'd say 99% of small business owners in this industry have never done any sort of like people management, any man management skills. So the way they deal with people, you could have the best engineer, but if you're not leveraging them, if you're not nurturing them, you're going to repel them, and you're not going to get the best out of them. And I'm a firm believer in most of the people that you get are going to be average. Yeah, they're going to be good at their job, just sort of like just average. And it's your job as the owner of the business to make them above average and excellent. And everyone has that in them to become that, but it comes down to the people that are leading the team to extract that from them, whether it be through coaching, whether it be through upskilling, whether it be through being compassionate and being understanding. So in essence, I've gone on a bit of a tangent there. In essence, I think the biggest problem is the business owner. I think I really do believe that. I think people need to put themselves in the candidate's shoe. So if you went for a job, would you expect to be sat across from someone that's unprofessional, swearing, and looks like there's no structure to the business and things like that? So I think you have to look at yourself, because there's people out there that are finding them and keeping them and building amazingly successful businesses. And if they can do it, so can you.
I think what you've just shared there, Wayne, is the silver bullet. I really do. Honestly, I don't think I could have put it better myself. And I think for anyone who is listening, who is having a real challenge, I'd really encourage you to take Wayne's words on board there, because, and it applies actually to any industry, because it's the hardest thing to get right, I think, in any industry, is attracting and keeping good people, but it's a two-way relationship. It's not just about, what they can offer and are they the right person. It's also, what are we offering them as an employer, and how are we nurturing and developing that individual, and what kind of career opportunities can we offer?
Yeah, and a lot of the time it doesn't just come down to money. Unfortunately,
right.
People are under this perception that if you pay more, you get more. It doesn't work like that. It really doesn't.
Yeah. It's very, very insightful, and I completely agree with you. What other common problems do you see within the trade industry, and why do you think they occur?
So I would say one of the biggest problems is that it's easy to get in business in this industry. Okay, you don't really need much capital. It's not like you're setting up a shop or something where you need to sort of invest. You can start a business in this industry, pretty much overnight. Yeah, you can register, you can put a sign on your van, and away you go. And that is a big problem, because a lot of people in business have no experience in business, and they don't understand the importance of data. I used to think data. What do you mean data? Like, I'm a plumber. What's that got to do with anything? But you need to know things. You need to know your figures. Obviously, you need to know how the business is performing. Like your material costs versus your gross profit, net profit. All of this sort of stuff. You're not taught. You're never taught this unless you invest in a business coach like you or other things out there. And I see that as a big problem, because it's how do I word this in the best way? It's sort of like, with the rise of the internet, it's made it far too easy to be in business, which I see as only being negative, because people then get they get swamped too quickly, not understanding the structure that a business actually needs. And unfortunately, I hear it all the time, as well as you probably do. So many people, because they're good at their job, they get too successful too quickly, and it just collapses in on itself. And I think that people like you, people like me, there's others out there, are fundamental for small businesses in this industry to survive and thrive. Because I just know how valuable, if I could go back 10 years and work with someone like you that was industry specific, you know, I would just be so much further than I am now, having to have had to learn it all like the hard way, so to speak.
Sure. Well, I always say it's a bit like, yeah, I completely agree. I always say it's a bit like me being asked to go out and build a house or fit a boiler. I mean, you wouldn't want me doing it, believe me, but I wouldn't know where to start. Even if you did give me training, you wouldn't want me doing it. But I literally wouldn't know where to start, and why would I? Because I've never been trained to do that. And so it's also not I don't know if you find this as well, Wayne, when people come to work with you, to be coached by you, that sometimes people see it as almost a weakness. And actually it's not. It's a real strength, going and asking for some help. And I just see it as a way of getting from A to B quicker. It's not that you're broken. It's just you're going out and finding specialists to help you to get from A to B quicker and have less stress along the way and potentially enjoy it along the way, enjoy the journey rather than, yeah.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with you.
I remember 10 years ago, people would start with me. This was before I worked with construction and trades, and they'd sort of say, "Oh, can you not tell anybody that I'm working with you?" And I think it is changing, definitely. So in terms of your heating company, so you've still got your heating company as well as the clients that you're helping. So you've kind of got your feet in two camps there. In terms of your heating company, how do you aim to be different as a heating company?
So 6-7 years ago, I was a plumbing and heating business. Yeah. Like many other people, it was, if you got a leaky tap to, a broken boiler, we'll do whatever you want. One of the lessons that I learned from my mistakes was I need to niche this down. I need to focus on something more specifically. And obviously in this industry, boilers is where the bigger ticket number is. Yeah. So I thought there's big companies. Well, back when I first started this, there wasn't really any, you didn't have boxed. You hadn't had, Home Serve weren't really in the scene. So you had British Gas as like the main player, and then pretty much everyone else was plumbing and heating engineers and whatever. So I thought, well, I want boilers. Boilers is where the money is. It's simple, you get less problems. So that was the first step to me to try and stand out. Is I changed the company name to Your New Boiler, so it says what we do. We do still get some random people that will ring us and say, "I've got a leaky sink," and I'm like, "Did you not read the name of my company? Like, why are you ringing me?" But hey ho, it is what it is. And to be fair, we do plumbing for existing customers. So if we fitted someone a boiler, they're then a customer, and we will then do plumbing and heating jobs for them. But what I wanted to do was focus all of my attention on generating boiler sales, getting boilers sold. And the name was the first step in differentiating myself. I wasn't just Wayne Bettess Plumbing and Heating. I was focused. yournewboiler.com. It's come to us if you want a new boiler. But a name only gets you so far. So then I started to focus. I looked around me and I thought, these guys around me, at the time, they're just doing things the hard way. So I made it a little bit structured. I didn't go mad. I just, I would answer the phone every time it rang. It was like pretty much like an unwritten rule. I had to get that phone answered. We did what we said we would do, which again it can be quite rare in some places. And then ultimately we fix anything that's wrong. Yeah, that's, to me, is what separates us. Is if someone rings me up and says that there's a problem with something we've done, I will drop whatever's going on and we will get someone there. We will get the issue resolved. And the amount of 5-star reviews I've had from jobs that have actually gone wrong, right? And we've ended up being able to turn them into 5-star reviews purely by the commitment. I make a commitment, and anyone that works with me has to sort of commit to the fact that that's where you get separated. That's where you can start to stand out, because you fix the problem. You don't just brush it off or pass it off or try and charge them more for something or things like that. And that's what sort of grew us to a certain point. And then I just started bringing in automations, and that's what's separating us from a lot of people at the moment is the customer journey that they experience. I spent a lot of time, honing it in from scripts that my office lady will follow on the phones to automated texts and emails and reminders and tracking of us when we're on our way. And we sort of just 21st centurized it, if that makes sense. Just if you ordered a fridge online, you'd expect to get an order confirmation. You'd expect to get a delivery notification. You'd expect to get a delivery window. And we just to me, it was just the basics. I just sort of got up to speed with what the modern world was. And that was, again, something that leveled us up a little bit above a lot of people around us. And I get asked a lot because I'm still in this.
That's okay. That's okay. I was just going to say again, it's the basics, isn't it? That it's often just doing the basics well, and that can be it. Really, that can make a business grow if you just do the basics well. But sorry, you were going to say.
I think that what you just said there, though, is the same as any successful business. If you look at, I don't know, let's use Tesco's, for example, right? What they do is get you fresh food at a competitive price at easy access. Yes. It's all basic things, but obviously they at some point were ahead of the game, and captured the market, and by doing them basics right, it propelled them into the business they are. And sometimes we overcomplicate things. We think it's too hard when in reality, what's that saying? Is it KISS? Keep it simple, stupid. It's like sometimes you have to just keep it simple.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because we haven't sort of talked about these subjects before. And it's from talking to you, Wayne, there's a lot there around ego as well, around managing one's ego. So when you're talking about people, you're saying, look at yourself. When you're talking about when it goes wrong with the customer, you're saying, go and put it right. You didn't specifically say it, but too many people, I think, get into arguments or think the customer's trying it on or they're trying to get something. You just have to put all of that to one side. Just go and put it right and do what's right. And the customer isn't always right, as we know, but you have to make them feel as though they're right, because the impact of getting it right or wrong can be the difference between a business flourishing and failing. So it's really interesting. Yeah.
I've given up caring whether I'm right or wrong on anything. I think it was just like a moment that happened that just sort of, does it matter if I'm right? What benefit is there of me being right in this situation? At the end of it, I just want a happy customer. Exactly. The same principle works for my wife. I just want a happy wife. So, whether I'm right or wrong, it's just like, just make it happen.
Yes, yeah. Good advice.
She won't listen to this anyway. She says I'm cringy.
So on the subject of advice, what advice would you give to any plumbing or heating engineer who's thinking about going out on their own?
So thinking about going out on their own, right? Okay, that's an important stage. So I would first of all, I'd ask them, how long did it take them to get to the position where they think they can go on their own, right? For most people, it's going to be 3 to 5 years at least, isn't it? That they've sort of honed their skills to feel confident enough to go out on their own. Then I would ask them the question, how much time have you spent learning about business? And 9 times out of 10, the answer is going to be nothing. I haven't. So that would be my advice, is before you take that leap of faith, learn, speak to people, work with some coaches, do some online programs, put some money and some time in getting some fundamental business knowledge, because it will what you spend now will save you 10 times that over the first couple of years.
Good advice. Great. What are your plans for the next 1 to 2 years, Wayne?
So from my boiler installation company side of things, I want to. So at the moment, we've got a couple of engineers, an apprentice, and an office lady. And I would say I work about 20 hours a week directly on that business, whether it be sort of invoicing, problem solving, quoting, whatever it is I do. Over the next 12 months, I am determined to get that down to 10 hours of my time spent on it, 2 hours a day. So that's like a personal target, if that makes sense. I want to get down to that point. I also want to add another team member. I want to have three guys or girls out there, working. And that's I've slow and steady growth for that business. From my other stuff, so from the off the tools stuff, I want to grow the podcast because I just love doing it. It's like a passion. I really love.
Yeah.
As you can probably tell, I love the sound of my own voice. So a podcast just suits me down to the ground. So I want to grow that. I want to. Yeah. I want to get in a position where it's impacting more people, because I think the content's, not to big up myself, but I think the content's good. I just want more people to be able to digest it. And I want to do more support for the industry. The industry is, I'm not a millionaire or anything, I'm comfortable. I do okay. And that's thanks to this industry. And I want to be able to get other people to see that and see that, you might hear the horror stories from the local plumbers that say you can't do this, you can't do that. It's impossible to build a business in this industry. I want people to have some belief in themselves and be a part of their journey, really. Whether that be just through my podcast, or whether that be through the groups that I run, or whether that be through the coaching that I do. I just want to assist people so they don't have to go through the same cycle that so many people do.
Yes, yeah. And there is such a need for it. And I think it's so powerful because you've gone on your own journey and obviously learned a lot from it. So where can listeners go to find out more about Off the Tools?
So the best place, where you'll find most of the stuff that I do and that I'm involved with, is the Off the Tools Facebook group. So it's a private group. Right. You request to join, you answer a couple of questions, and you go in there. All my podcasts, all the stuff that I do day to day, because I'll do like random videos. I just post stuff about what's going on in the businesses and things, and fundamentally, you get a community of similar minded people, which is fantastic, because again, that was something that the people around me they're not into business. They don't know my industry, so it was sort of like, well, who do I talk to? And I've grown amazing friendships from the community, and others have too. Others have created mini networks within it of like support systems around them, and Off the Tools. Search it on Facebook, and you can request to join.
That's great. Well, thank you so much, Wayne, for sharing all of that advice. As I say, I think it's so much more powerful when it comes from somebody who has had or still has a trade business and has learnt along the way, and very, very inspiring and such wise words, especially around the recruitment. I think I'm going to just snippet that and share that everywhere, because it's just such a problem. And
I'd also like to say thank you to you, Alison, because in a sort of way, we could be seen as competition in a slight way, because of the angle that I'm moving into. Yeah. But I don't see it like that. I see it as there's an abundance of people that need support. So the more people that are there to help these people, and it's fantastic that you're doing what you're doing and growing your business and helping so many people as well. So it's great.
Well, thank you. I think we're on the same page there. There's more than enough businesses out there that have untapped potential. I think that's the right way to put it. It's not about criticizing or putting anyone down. It's just saying, look, you can have a more balanced, successful life overall if you seek help. And it's been inspiring talking to you, Wayne. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Alison. Cheers, guys.
I really hope you've enjoyed today's podcast. Please do share on social media. And if you'd like to learn more, head over to my website, www.evolveandgrowcoaching.com, where you'll find more details and also my book, Build and Grow, which is available on Amazon. Finally, you can also support the show by writing a review and subscribing on iTunes.